Hey everybody, it's Keagan here. I'm back with another video for you guys, and in today's video I'm bringing you guys another edition of Keagan's movie reviews. And today we're going to be talking about 3 movies this time, all of which I saw in theaters over the weekend. So yeah, let's not waste any more time and let's talk about it. So the first film we're going to be talking about is one that I saw in theaters on Friday, and that is the 1993 film Groundhog Day, which was directed by the late Harold Ramis and starring Bill Murray, and was originally released on February 12th, 1993. And Friday was actually Groundhog Day, and one of my local theaters was screening it for Groundhog Day. And I actually haven't seen this movie before until I saw it on Friday, so I decided to go ahead and check it out for the first time. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by it. I thought it was even better than I thought it was going to be, but we'll get to more on that in a minute. But right now, let's take a dive into the story of the film. So this film follows a weatherman named Phil, played by Bill Murray, who is sent down to a small town with his crew to do a coverage of a little Groundhog Day festival. And our main character is kind of a narcissist, self-centered prick who's kind of an ungrateful person. And the next day after the event, he wakes up finding out he's in the same day, reliving the same day over and over again. Well, the concept for this movie is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. So each repeat of the same day has a different outcome depending on how he interacts with others on the day and what he does. And the concept alone is what makes this movie so memorable, other than the comedy. At least in my point of view, it does. And basically, Phil is trying to figure out how to get out of this loop, and otherwise he could be stuck in the same loop forever. So he's trying to figure out how to get out of this cycle. And without giving away too much, that's basically the story of the film in a nutshell. And while this movie was great, I really, really enjoyed it. And I actually wasn't sure what I was going to expect with this movie. Well, I already knew what the premise was of this movie was about. I'm pretty sure. Well, it's pretty well known for its premise that's been inspired by, well, that later inspired some other films, or maybe this was inspired by something else. I'm not sure. But I knew what the premise of this movie was going to be about before I went into this movie. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. It was hilarious. It was really clever. And the premise alone is interesting, too. I think we can all agree the idea of being stuck, reliving the same day over and over again is an interesting idea, yet a scary one at the same time. And Bill Murray does a really good job in this movie, and this is definitely one of his best roles, I'd say. And all in all, I had fun seeing this one in theaters. It was hilarious, and I highly recommend it, and I will definitely plan to check it out again one day. Maybe I'll get it on Blu-ray or something one day. But all in all, it was a fun film, and I wonder if they would ever remake it today. I hope they don't, because it doesn't need a remake. It's fine the way it is. It's just a great film. Why would anyone want to remake a movie like this? But I don't really have anything else to add other than I really, really enjoyed the film, and if you haven't seen Groundhog Day, I would highly recommend it. But anyways, we're just gonna move on to the next movie, so I'm giving Groundhog Day an 8.7 out of 10. The next film I saw in theaters was one I saw on Saturday, and it's actually a brand new movie that literally just came out on Friday, and that is the 2024 spy action film Argylle, which was directed by Matthew Vaughn and was released on February 2nd, 2024. And Matthew Vaughn is the same director of movies like Kingsman: The Secret Service, Layer Cake, which was his first film back in 2004, Kick-Ass, and a couple of other films, and this is his newest film. And interestingly, when I went to go see this in the theater, I actually got this poster for free from the lobby at the theater I went to when I saw it, which looks pretty cool. I haven't hung it up yet, but maybe I'll hang it up later. I wasn't sure if I'd say if I was looking forward to this movie before it was coming out, but I wasn't sure what to think of this movie. I was kind of interested in seeing it, but then I started seeing all the mixed reactions that have been coming out since this movie came out, and I'm like, oh shit, so this one might not be good. But I still went and saw it anyways. At the time of me recording this video, the movie costed around $200 million to make and has only made 18 million back on its opening weekend. Now I'm not sure if that's too early to say if it's a bomb or not, but that didn't really do too well on its opening weekend. Um, and this movie has also gotten a lot of mixed reviews, mainly meh reviews from what I could read. But before we get into my thoughts on the film, we're gonna get into the storyline of it, of course. So let's take a dive into Argylle. Now, this movie centers around a spy writer named Ellie Conway, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who's a writer of a spy character named Argylle, who in this movie is played by Henry Cavill. She basically writes the stories around this character, but little does she know, everything she writes about is actually based on events that are happening in the spy world. And then she gets caught up with a spy named Aiden, who's played by Sam Rockwell, and she's basically forced to go on the adventure with him to stop an evil organization from getting a secret record or something. And the lead villain in this movie is played by Bryan Cranston, who I actually thought was a pretty good choice for casting as the villain, I must say. And it's basically the blurs the lines between reality and fiction, even though basically everything she writes actually happened in real life with spies and stuff. And without giving away too much, that's basically the story of the film in a nutshell. You've probably seen the trailer for this movie probably 100 times, because I think a lot of the production that went into this budget probably went toward, some of it went towards the promotion of the film. Like, there's like a shit ton of promotions for this movie. But yeah. This movie, it wasn't great, but it was alright, I guess. But I'll admit, it was pretty entertaining at times, but it was really over the top. But I found a tiny bit of enjoyment out of it. Like, it was entertaining to watch. But I think the biggest problem with this movie is the writing. Like, the writing is like, it just, I just was not really a fan of the writing. Like, it just starts off with just like somewhat of a generic spy action movie. But then later, around the second or third act, it starts to get a little confusing and a little ridiculous. It's just like, what the hell is even going on? And just some of the shit, like some of the twists, just don't really make all that much sense to me. It's just like, oh, okay. No, again, I didn't hate this movie. I found it entertaining at times. Like, I do like some of the action sequences. But my main issue with this movie is it's got to be the writing. Like, I think the writing itself is kind of the biggest flaw with this movie. Like, the writing could have been so much better. And it has a pretty good cast. It does have a big ensemble cast. I think Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell were great in it. Bryan Cranston was pretty good as the villain. And John Cena is just there, and Sam Jackson, he's a good actor, but I guess he's kind of a reliable actor. But he's still a damn good actor, though. He was pretty good in it, even though he was hardly in the movie. But all in all, this movie wasn't all that great either. And I can totally understand why some people don't really like this movie. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. But it's probably not one I'm ever going to watch again anytime soon. And I'm probably going to forget about it. Honestly, I kind of forgot about what even happened about half the movie at this point anyways. But I don't really have anything else to add. It was an alright movie. I'm probably never going to watch it again, but I'm probably going to keep the poster that I just showed. Probably just hang it up on my wall. But yeah, Argylle, not the worst movie I've seen, not a great movie, but definitely the weakest film from Matthew Vaughn, I'd say. And I'm giving this movie a 5.7 out of 10. Alright, so the last film we're going to be talking about before we call it a day is the 2023 film The Zone of Interest, which was directed by Jonathan Glazer and was based on a book by Michael Amos. Editor's note: the name of the author is actually Martin Amis, not Michael Amos. I got the names completely mixed up. It's Martin Amis. Back to the video. And this film was released on December 15th, 2023 in the US. It was a limited release, and I think this movie recently just got released here in Canada. Well, in my area, it recently just got released. So I'm not exactly sure when this was released in Canada, but it must have been recently. The funny thing is, when I was going to see Argylle, I was looking around the theater for a bit, and then I found that the theater I went to was screening this movie, and I'm like, oh shit, I should go see it. And so last night I went to go see it, and I finally did. And I really really enjoyed it, but we'll get to more on that in a minute. But Jonathan Glazer, the director of this movie, he previously directed films like Sexy Beast from 2000, which I talked about on my channel a couple years ago. His second film was Birth from 2004, and his previous film was Under the Skin from 2013, which I really enjoyed. And this film, I wasn't sure what to expect with this movie coming out. I kind of went into it blindly, but I know about all the praise it's gotten and is one of the few Oscar nominated films to being Best Picture at this year's Oscars. So I decided to go ahead and check it out. And I really really enjoyed it, but we'll get to more on that in a bit. But I'll just give you a quick what a quick rundown of what the story's about in a nutshell, and then we'll get into my thoughts on it, of course. In a nutshell, this movie takes place during the Holocaust and the Second World War. You got a family that lives right next door to Auschwitz, primarily because the father is the commander or whatever of the infamous concentration camp. And it basically follows the lives of the family during this dark period in history and what their life is like around the house right next to that messed up place that we all know as Auschwitz. And since this is a Holocaust movie, you can expect this to be a dark and uneasy film to sit through, and it is. And while there is no on-screen violence in this movie, there is violence, but you can't actually see it. You can only hear it, like the way it was filmed. Like it just like the sounds just overlaps what's going on screen, which I actually thought was pretty interesting. It definitely made my skin crawl a little bit, and during some of the darker sounds you hear in the film, which I actually thought the use of sound in this movie was really interesting, especially like during the dark sounds that play throughout the film. It was quite an interesting idea. And the film was really well shot, well acted, and I especially really like the I don't know what you call it. Like there's a scene where a little girl is walking around outside like picking up stuff from the ground, and it's like in a different filter or something. It's like one of those old I don't know what you call it. It sort of looks like the old X-ray photo booth filter that you see on those old iMac computers from the 2000s. It didn't look exactly like it, but it looked kind of like it to me for some reason. But I really liked how those scenes were shot. But all in all, it was a really, really well done film that I highly recommend you check out. It's not going to be a film for everybody, especially if you're not really into art house films. And it's an uneasy film to watch at times, but it's a really, really great film that I highly recommend. Um, I'm not sure if I'll put this on my 10 favorite films of 2023 list, but I'm thinking about it. But all in all, it was a really, really good film, and I think it deserved getting the Oscar nomination for Best Picture, but I doubt it's going to win Best Picture. I'm predicting either Oppenheimer, Poor Things, or maybe even Killers of the Flower Moon will win Best Picture. But it is nice to see this film get some Oscar buzz, and I think it's well deserved in my opinion. But if these kind of movies look interesting to you, then check it out. And I'm giving The Zone of Interest an 8.6 out of 10. Alright everybody, so that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, as always, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment below, subscribe, turn on notifications, etc. You get the rest. And I think my next movie review video will probably be part 2 of the James Bond movie reviews. I'm not sure if it'll be for sure, but it might be the next, what might be coming up next for the next movie review video that I do. But stick around for more. But anyways, you guys, that's all for this video. So stay tuned for more. And until next time, this is Keagan Shepherd signing off. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody. Peace out. Bye-bye.